नमस्कार, जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेव टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि अचिंत। रिसेंटली खबर आई थी कि भाई इंडिया की बाउंड्री इंक्रीज हो गई है। कौन सी? मैरिटाइम बाउंड्री। सो क्वेश्चंस केम अप, यार ये कैसे होता है? पहले भूल गए थे, अभी भूल गए हैं, अभी ज्यादा दिख रही। व्हाट इज दिस? एंड गाइस, अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग, मैरिटाइम अफेयर्स इज वेरी वेरी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड। उसके अंदर काफी सारी डिफरेंट तरह की लाइंस होती हैं व्हिच वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड, एंड लाइंस ऑन अ मैप मीन क्वाइट अ बिट। टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट एंड दिस होल कॉन्सेप्ट, हमारे साथ हैं कैप्टन सुधीर कंधारी एंड वाइस एडमिरल अधीर अरोड़ा। गाइस, you've seen another episode जहां पर दोनों ने हमको सर क्रीक के बारे में और भारत और पाकिस्तान के बीच में there was an issue that they explained to us in a lot of detail. So check out that podcast. I'll put the link in the description. But for now, namaskar sir. Welcome to the show.
मॉर्निंग नमस्कार।
Thank you so much sir. Sir, Captain sir, मैं आपके साथ I'll start with you sir. Please tell me, how did India's maritime boundary suddenly increase sir? ये क्या है? मतलब new measuring tape or what is it sir?
No, it is not that way. Well, you can say measuring tape. There are different ways of measuring it. Actually, मैं पहले तो I would like to explain to your audience that कि दो चीजें confuse नहीं करनी चाहिए। एक तो हम बोलते हैं कोस्ट लाइन, एक हम बोलते हैं बेस लाइन, जिसको कि लो वाटर लाइन भी बोल सकते हैं। कोस्ट लाइन जो अभी न्यूज में आई थी कि इंडिया का पहले 7,500 पता नहीं 16 किलोमीटर के आसपास था, अभी वो 11,098 11098 किलोमीटर हो गया है। तो इंडिया का लैंड मास नहीं बढ़ा है एक्चुअली में। वो क्या है कि जो पहले जब 1970 में कभी जब डेटा दिया था, तो उस टाइम पे इन्होंने 1:4.5 मिलियन स्केल पे किया था, जहां पर कि अगर तुम एक पेंसिल पे डॉट भी लगाओगे तो दैट डॉट मींस 4.5 किलोमीटर्स, 4500 मीटर्स ऑन दैट स्केल। सब्सिक्वेंटली अभी उसको 250,000 पे अपडेट किया है, तो वहां पर 1 मिलीमीटर इज 250 मीटर्स। अभी कोई ऑफशोर एक छोटी सी रॉक है विच कुड बी 1/2 meters or something like that, or say 1 by kilometer by 2 kilometer, that cannot be shown on the scale of 1:4.5 million. But having said that, I would say somebody to say that we did not know, I will not agree with it, because hydrographers knew it all along. They had the data with them, they had the survey sheets with them. I don't know, I have no answer to that why it was not published earlier, but well, the coastline that we are defining now, जो coastline हम बोल रहे हैं, वो basically administrative purposes के लिए यूज होती है। उसको हम बॉर्डर से उसका हमारा कुछ लेना देना नहीं है। सी बॉर्डर्स के लिए, सी बॉर्डर्स के लिए एक वर्ड यूज करते हैं बेस लाइन। दैट बेस लाइन इज बेसिकली अ लो वाटर लाइन, और उस लो वाटर लाइन से आपके जितने टेरिटोरियल सी हैं, कंटिग्यूअस जोन है, ईजेड है, और आपका जो कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ है, वो सब कैलकुलेट किया जाता है। अभी एक न्यूज आई थी कि इंडिया का कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ जो है वो 1.2 मिलियन स्क्वायर किलोमीटर बढ़ गया, और एक्सटेंडेड कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ जो अप्रैल में इंडिया ने सबमिट किया था, समथिंग लाइक दैट। तो अभी कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ का यार डेफिनेशन आदि मैं ज्यादा बता नहीं सकता, क्योंकि वो बहुत टेक्निकल वर्ड्स उसमें आ जाते हैं। ग्रेडियंट कितना होना चाहिए, स्लोप कैसा होना चाहिए, ईजेड के बियॉन्ड एक्सटेंड कर जाता है वो। अगर ईजेड मेरा 200 नॉटिकल माइल्स है, उसके बियॉन्ड भी चला जाता है, इट कैन गो अप टू 350 नॉटिकल माइल्स। और उसके लिए सेडिमेंटेशन कितनी है, थिकनेस 60 nautical miles more than the EZ, not to exceed 60 nautical miles from the 2500 meters ISO। तो बहुत टेक्निकल चीजें, उसमें नहीं जा रहे हैं। हम इतना ही बोल रहे हैं कि इंडिया ने अभी जो इनिशिएटिव लिया है, सब कुछ डिपॉजिट कर दिया यूएन में। अगर हमको 1.2 मिलियन स्क्वायर किलोमीटर एडिशनल मिल जाता है, जो अपना है एक्चुअली राइटफुली, वो हमारे पास है। और जो पहले 2.3 था कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ, हम जब बात करते हैं 1.2 जो एक्सटेंडेड कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ की बात कर रहे हैं, ये मिला के तो पूरा लैंड मास के बराबर हो जाता है, राइट। तो इससे पहले कि हम इसके बारे में और बात करें, मैं एडमिरल अधीर को रिक्वेस्ट करेगा कि वो बेसलाइन का कॉन्सेप्ट समझा दें पहले लोगों को, उसके बाद आगे बात करेंगे.
Sir.
Thank you, Captain
Or you
Kandari.
can show the slides.
आप अगर बात चालू करेंगे or if you start the whole thing, first I will just explain from what Captain Kandari has mentioned. Yes, there has been a change in the length of the coastline, but that is very nominal because earlier the coastline was actually measured by manual means. That means on the chart, using a compass and using a divider. Nowadays, it is on a digital medium. So every curve, every rock, every reef, every corner, every spline, every arc has been very, very clearly defined now. So obviously, with these definitions, the digital definitions ensure that it is more refined. So we have got our coastline more refined. And that is one of the reasons it's taken so many years to come up with the new coastline. And this has been done in concurrence with the other agencies also. Notwithstanding, it's the hydrographers who have actually walked over this coastline over the years. It is the only organization that actually physically walks over the coastline. And then it puts it on the navigation charts, which are used worldwide. Now, coming to the present topic of the maritime zones and the territorial seas. The seas have generally, from time immemorial, have always been open. Right from the time of Cholas and Pandyas, India traded with the East Asia, Indonesia, Vietnam side, Sumatra, Java. It's known, it is very well documented from 10th century and 11th century onwards. These are very well documented, the trade routes. However, once the colonial powers came to this area, what happened was one ship called Santa Catarina, which is the Portuguese ship. And Portuguese used to say, whichever place we trade, it is our area. It is not an open sea for anybody else. The Dutch East India Company, which was also trading there, it caught hold of the ship. And all it said was, they put a jurist called Hugo Grotius to analyze why should a sea be only under the purview of a few people who have got power? Why can't it be open seas? So this guy called Hugo Grotius, he came up with a theory called Mare Liberum, in which he said the world should be open seas because only then everybody can trade. It should not be Mare Clausum, which the Portuguese had defined that the sea should be closed. Taking from here onwards, the sea areas have completely been redefined slowly and slowly. So there is now an area which has been defined through the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea, where there are the territorial seas and the zones, which is the contiguous zone and the exclusive economic zone and the continental shelf. So each country is supposed to delimit it, delineate it, and then demarcate it. Once you do that, then each country can claim its zones from the baselines. We'll come to this and we'll slowly explain it to you how this happens. Incidentally, like I said, the coastline has been walked over by the hydrographers. And the first thing to do to define is the baselines and the base points. Now, in each of these territories or in each of these zones, the coastal state has certain rights, certain duties, and certain obligations. And so are the other states who operate their ships in this area. So we will touch about all this in the subsequent slides. Over to Captain Kandari.
Yeah.
Should I move forward, sir, or keep it here right now?
We could do
You can move forward.
Adil, you continue with this.
Okay, sir. Now let's see what is it. Now for going to the maritime zones, the first starting point is the baselines and the base points. Like we just explained, what are baselines and base points? When you draw a line between 2 points, it is called a baseline. If you draw it along the coast, it is also a baseline, but the definition is slightly different. So the low water line and the baselines and the base points need to be very, very clearly defined. And these need to be deposited with the United Nations, because when it comes to the maritime zones, the world should know where these maritime zones are. So these are to be officially declared. And in case of India, we first defined these in 11th May 2009. And we superseded this and published and deposited the new one to the United Nations on 2nd April 25. Incidentally, you can alter your baselines because the coast is dynamic. It is not static. There is sand, there is rocks, there is reefs, which keep eroding or keeps accreting. So that is why every coastline is susceptible to change. So India exercised this option, and we deposited our renewed base points and baselines on 2nd April 25. And incidentally, these base points are 180 base points. Over to you.
Yeah, coming back to that, I was talking about continental shelf. I thought initially I said it a bit technical. I might as well, slightly emphasized on that why continental shelf is important here. Now, everybody knows about the ease that the territorial waters and your contiguous zone and your uh, continental shelf, these words. Now, these spoke about the baseline. Let us look at it this way. Anything which is inland or this side of the baseline is your land jurisdiction. Anything outside, when you talk of, then the term comes like territorial waters. That is 12 nautical miles. Now, there are four things in the territorial waters. That is your fiscal, custom, immigration, and other laws of the country prevail over there. Other countries have the right of innocent passage. Right of passage, when they say, it means that going from point A to point B without stopping or without doing anything, unless force majeure, that is like a storm or engine failure, something like that. Contiguous zone, leave aside right of innocent passage. It's an open sea, but still a country can have its fiscal, customs, and legal customs, taxation, your fiscal, all the immigration, all those laws applicable over there. It's an open sea, so right of anybody can go through that place. It's not like territorial waters where the right of innocent passage clause comes. Up to 200 nautical miles is your exclusive economic zone. Anything which is underwater, all resources, they belong to you. But continental shelf comes into play, like we have said that we have submitted our extended continental shelf, part of it. It comes into play because there's a way of drawing it where you say that, there are two criteria. Either they go by the thickness, that is the sedimentation thickness, or they go by the absolute outer limits. So when you're talking about the thickness, like, it should be 1% of the distance as measured from the outermost limit that we're talking about. But the outermost limit is capped at 350 nautical miles, 350. It depends on us and the geography, the geological features, how we use it to our best advantage. And as Adhir would know, to determine this is not an easy task for that matter. There are various different kind of geotechnical and hydrographic bathymetry. All those surveys are required. Different equipment is used, like your chirper, parametric, and your boomer or sparkle, to measure the thickness part of it. Now imagine all the resources available to you, 350 nautical miles as measured from your baseline. What do you say, Adhir, on this?
Sir, you're very right, because let's come back to what is the starting point. Now we need to differentiate. We should not confuse this with the land boundaries. In the land boundaries, you've got a country which is on the other side and India is on this side. So we are not talking here first about our boundaries. We are starting as a baseline is the starting point which every country is entitled to to have its territory seawards. So what you defined was very clearly, I'm not conflicting with any country. The sea is an open sea, like I said. So every country is entitled to certain areas and zones. So that is where the importance of baseline comes in, and that is where we have to be very clear how these baselines are made. We'll go to the next slide, sir.
Yep.
Yeah, now look at it like this. Let's take this area. The green one is the land. What you see in the red line is the coastal area. Now, I've not defined what type of coastal area. I've just said it's a coastal area. It's a generally nicely rounding coast with a few arcs and a few kinks here and there. And the blue part is the sea part of it. This is the basis of drawing a normal baseline along the coast, which is nothing but the low water line. When we say it is the low water line, it means that the water would generally not recede beyond this point in very many years. So this is the area which has to be very, very clearly demarcated, because the farther out it is there into the sea, the more area you can claim into the sea, the EZ, the continental shelf. So it is a very, very important consequence that you demarcate the low water line and the features very clearly. Next slide. Next slide. Now look at this. On the right hand side, you find this person on the beach. And what is that person doing in the water? He's got a tide pole with him, which is trying to measure the least amount of water at a low water tide. Now, if we can get that, that is the place from where your actual baseline will start. And on the left, you see a person climbing on a very, very jagged rock, very, very difficult rock. It's a laterite rock. Imagine if his hand or leg were to, or he was supposed to, if he was to slip, will be very, very badly injured. This is the type of terrain the hydrographers have to go through day in and day out to demarcate the low water line or the farthermost point on the coast. Next slide, please. Now, it is extremely, extremely difficult and hazardous and risky. Now, if you cannot demarcate it from the land side because of very difficult rocks, you have to come from the seaside. And here on the right side bottom, you see the slide in which that picture is taken from a boat. These two gentlemen are wearing life rafts. In case they fall into the sea, they can be easily picked up. But look at the difficulty with which they are doing this. They are going and demarcating the rock in the outermost side of the sea area. On the left side, you see a person standing on a rock. This person on the right side wearing a blue is a diver. And on the left side is the person who's taking the reading. They have been standing on this rock for the last around 4 to 5 hours, waiting for the low water line to reach its lowest level. Can you believe it? This one rock can extend the sea boundary even further and give India more territory. That is why the importance of low water line comes in. And that is why this rock is being demarcated. Coming to the
I
next
would
slide,
add over
please.
here,
Yes, sir.
Adi,
Go
I
ahead.
would add over here, this particular photograph where we're showing the boat, the two personnel in the boat nearing a rock. When somebody says it's dangerous, like, the picnic goers or anybody goes for a joyride, it seems quite good from a distance. But when you go near, the surf which comes on the rocks or on the beach, it looks very innocent from the seaward side. You go near the rock and look back, it's like a wall of the water approaching you, and you are going at a very, very slow speed just to touch your bows on the rock, because you have to mark that position where you touch the bows of the boat. And you can imagine, if the steering little bit of you know calculation error, or you're not a good handler, you will get broached and you'll be thrown onto the rocks. Neither the boat will survive or not the individual will survive. Can we go to the next slide? Now, as Admiral Dheer was explaining, look at that person standing on top of the rock. The tide may change after 6 hours, 8 hours, or 12 hours, depending on the type of tide it is. Now look at that man standing on top, and it's not just go and come back. It's a low tide elevation. Low tide elevation, that meant it surfaces only during the low water time. High water, it remains covered. So this man has to mark that point, and it could take an entire day of observation, and he has to keep standing there. High water, if it gets covered, the diver is provided to him in his company. So, they help each other. And that's how this particular each and every point is demarcated. And when people say the coastline has changed, no, coastline hasn't changed. The land mass is same. It is being demarcated now, and that's how the baseline is made. Uh, uh, that was from my side. You can.
Okay. We'll go to the next slide, sir. We'll go to the next slide. Now look at this. This is, we have taken the shape of the coast of the Scandinavian countries there. And from here, you can make out how difficult this coast is. The shape of the coast is like a jagged rocks, and it is like a teethed knife. And imagine drawing a coast like this with rocks and reefs replete. So now demarcating and actually delineating the coast becomes extremely difficult in these areas. So according to the rules that have been set up by UNCLOS, the outermost points of these rocks, reefs, and this cut indented land, it can be joined with a straight line. And it can be joined where the coast is indented. It can be done where there's a fringing islands. It can be done where there's a deltaic area. Now, deltaic area is very similar to what is there in Sundarbans. It keeps accreting and it keeps eroding. And also, it can be done where there is mouth of rivers. Next slide, please. Here, now we have drawn 3 or 4 straight baselines from the outermost point. And this is what is called the straight baseline. The baseline that I showed you earlier was the normal baseline, which is along the coast, and that is 4th slide prior. And this shows a straight baseline that can be drawn now. Now look at that area what Captain Kandari mentioned. The area between the straight baseline and the Greenland is your internal waters. That means it is like nothing but land territory. Next slide, please.
I would like to add over here, when we talk of the this side of the baseline as the inland waters, one thing is to emphasize that as per the law, any vessel or any aircraft which comes inside for any commercial purpose has volunteered to surrender its rights. He cannot say that, for example, a ship may be flying a flag of Panama, USA, or Belize, or Marshall Islands, or any country for that matter. He cannot say that this ship as an island is a territory of that particular country. That is applicable on the high seas only. But moment he comes inside the baseline, where we define inland waters, he has volunteered to surrender his rights. For example, that MSC incident near the Kerala coast, where that vessel caught fire, though it was within the territorial waters or contiguous zone, we have the full right to claim all the money of the damages caused to the environment or the pollution cleaning up cost. But the fact remains that she came inside my land jurisdiction, inside the port, and he did not declare, what news I am reading, the cargo manifest properly. So his crime is in the territorial waters also, but as I said, right of innocent passage, but he's supposed to declare his cargo manifest. Now he's entered the port and he's not declared his cargo manifest. That's what I'm reading in the news. If he has not declared his cargo manifest, it is something like, police guy stops you on the roadside and he says, "What's in your car?" And you're carrying some contraband or one state to another, some kind of a stuff which is not permitted. So you're basically violating the law. So it's a criminal offense. So that's how the importance of legal jurisdiction and everything comes into play. Yes. Now, talking about this China, Adi, now you see Admiral Adhir has explained everything about the baseline and what the territorial waters are, what is the EEZ. Now let's look at internationally. The 9-dash line China keeps talking about, wherein he claims the entire South China Sea belongs to China. On the other side, the Spratly Islands and the Paracel Islands are within the 9-dash line. If they are within the 9-dash line, why he's having a dual kind of a statement that everything is mine, and thereafter he says my sovereign land for that matter. He knows very well that 9-dash line doesn't stand any ground when it comes to UNCLOS. Those two islands, if he goes and occupies, tomorrow there's, for example, too much of geopolitical international pressure and he removes his 9, what you call, dash line, he has occupied those two islands and he will say these two islands have the EEZ of their own. Still he gains the sea mass, the sea area, because those islands will have the baseline of their own also, like our Andaman and Lakshadweep Islands have got. Now, these islands, he says historically, what history we are talking about for that matter? Spratly Island was initially, occupied by French, and after World War II, it was with Japan, and thereafter Taiwan took over. Thereafter, Filipinos came and they occupied that island. Spratly Island similarly was with Vietnam. Historically, Portuguese. Chinese came and kicked them out at 1988. Now, tomorrow, if some of the legal argument is to go on, it will keep continuing. Okay, fine, 9-dash line is knocked out. But he has those two islands. He's already put his military assets over there. Now, what the world is going to do? Have an open conflict for that? The reasons best known to the US government, I would say that they closed their eyes in 1988 when they annexed these islands and kicked Vietnamese and Filipinos out. Otherwise, in 1950s and 60s, we know it very well, as and when China tried to play similar kind of a game in the South China Sea, US did come with their fleet and push them back. But why they didn't do it in 1988? What are the geopolitical compulsions? Certain answers will never be available. In the open source, it's only a speculative or analytical guesswork, we can say, that's all.
We'll go to the next slide, sir.
I'm saying, Adhir, that's how these baselines, they make so much of a difference for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the whole story depends on the baselines. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, now we all know about the Russia and Ukraine war going on. Everybody is talking about here. If you see on the slide on the right side, bottom corner, the pink shaded area which has been annexed by Russia or taken over by Russia. But look at the larger picture. Somewhere in 2003, Russia and Ukraine, they had signed a treaty for the Sea of Azov, treating it as a inland waters to be shared by both Russia and Ukraine. And in this war, Russia walked out of this treaty and claiming entire Sea of Azov to be his inland waters. Why? He is going by UNCLOS. Crimea belongs to them. He has taken over the entire land. He draws a baseline around the Crimea until Kherson, and he says inside the water is mine. By the definition of UNCLOS, you can't challenge him. Similarly, he did with the Northern Sea route also. Legally, he is right by the definition. And that is why you have all these, high stake meetings coming up when Trump tweets high stake. What is the high stake? I don't know, but this is my guesswork, because if Sea of Azov becomes a what you call your inland sea or inland waters to say so for Russia, it's their land jurisdiction. He can stop anybody anytime. No, there's no question of right of innocent passage for that matter in that sea. Those are inland waters. And in any case, like there's a narrow strait which leads from the Black Sea inside Adi. In any case, like the ships with a air draft, that is the topmost part of the mast, more than 33 meters can go in because of the bridge over there. So there's a limited time when the tide is down, like you actually clear the bridge by a meter or so, depending on the wave height at that time. If you go to Singapore Changi Airport, also you have to declare your air draft because of the aircraft approaching. Similar thing applies over here. And the Great Locks also, they have the bridge, and you have to keep your air draft just bare minimum to pass under the bridge. Same thing over here. Russia, for some reason or the other, what they're doing now are delaying the vessels outside. As such, the Ukrainian have lost all the seaports of the Sea of Azov. They cannot use those ports. And Russia can keep sending the amphibious supplies across the sea without any challenge. No NATO, no US warship can come into that sea now. That is the inland water, he says. Who wants to have an open water? I don't think so. NATO or US would like to have an open sea conflict at the moment for that. And tomorrow, he has exercised his right. He can go to UN and say, UN clause, this land is mine. I am connecting the baseline. The entire water is the inland water body. Adil, what's your comment on that?
Sir, I'll go by UNCLOS because that is the defining document for across the world as of now.
Exactly.
And it is a sovereign country. A sovereign country can declare the way he wants it, but only thing it has to recognize. If somebody wants to protest, he is very much within his right to protest. All that remains is you may define the jurisdiction, but can you enforce it? That is what the bottom line in every of these territorial seas or contiguous zone and your EZ is. You have to enforce it also. That becomes very, very important. You have to have the wherewithal to enforce it.
Right. So Russia has a strong military power. They can enforce it. They will say fine. Anyways, that's a different topic altogether.
We'll go to the next one, sir.
Next slide. Now, on another thing I want to say about the Black Sea, I want to add over here. Sea of Azov and Black Sea goes to Russia, like if they exercise their control, sir, they may not need your Turkish Bosphorus or Dardanelles Strait for that matter, because to bypass Turkey, all he has to do is Bulgaria and Romania are there across the Black Sea, connect that from top, go up north, come down to Balkans, to the Adriatic Sea and to the Eastern Europe straight away. That's the easy route. That's why people are calling everything a high stake as far as the Ukraine is concerned. So let's come to northern sea routes. Now, if you look at over here, Russia claims entire NSR to be inland. I have put the small pictures over here. I could not align it directly, but if you look at it, all the straits, there are almost 18 straits, 4 or 5 are truly actually inland. Other can be disputed, but the fact remains that UNCLOS, it clearly says that article under 8.2, I think, if I'm not wrong, article 34 about the straits, those are the inland waterways. And article 234, it talks about the ice passage part of it. Russia is using that particular thing to say that entire pollution, sea passage is under my control, and he wants to keep NSR as an inland waters. But US and EU are not agreeing to that, saying it's an international shipping passage. The counter to that, Russia says, when was it used as international shipping passage? UNCLOS came into being in 82. Before that, there was no shipping through that route. The shipping has the shipping routes have opened up after 82 for that matter. Now, so it says the NSR is inland waters. And US, EU are not agreeing to it. And Russia is quoting the UNCLOS. Now, Adi, what I'm trying to say is that the importance of the baseline, how countries can actually use it to their advantage and what discomfort it may cause to your adversary.
We'll go to the next slide, sir.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, now coming to the master picture. This is the grand picture of the Indian baseline as on 2nd of April 2025. The red line goes on the main coast of India and on Andaman coast and the Lakshadweep also, Lakshadweep and Minicoy. Both the sides, it has been drawn as the red line. This is the India's new coastline, or rather India's new baseline. And from here starts all your territorial sea and your contiguous zone and your exclusive economic zone. We'll go to the next slide and then show how this all shapes up for India outward into the sea. Okay, what you see is the green area is the land, which is sloping down and becoming the seabed. Then 12 nautical miles from the baseline, which has been explained earlier, either it's the normal baseline or the straight baseline, is your territorial sea. Incidentally, 1 nautical mile is around 1.85 kilometers. So this must be around 36 kilometers. Your contiguous zone is 24 nautical miles and your exclusive economic zone is 200 nautical miles. In the next slides, a few slides, we will explain you what all is the rights and obligations of each state and what all the state is allowed to do in each of these areas and what other states are not allowed to do in each of these areas. And that 200 nautical mile EZ, what even Captain Khandari was mentioning, nearly 360 kilometers. It's a huge area. And beyond that is the continental shelf. That's a absolute issue which has got a different debate, which we have to do it sometime later if we can. Okay, next slide, please. Yes, so coming to the territorial sea. Starting from the baseline, your territorial sea starts. Now come back to how it all began. In the olden times, when the bow and arrow used to be there from the coast, the coastal state could use bows and arrows to shoot at the boats or the ships that used to come. So that area, we can say, okay, fine, it used to be the land territory, extension of a land territory where this could easily protect, the coastal state could easily protect. Later came the cannons, and then it became your territorial sea. Traditionally became from where your cannon could go to the outermost limit because you had a control over that sea. So that is why the name territorial sea is not new. It has been going on for years and years and centuries together. Formally, it has got now legitimized or rather ruled by the UNCLOS, where it says your territorial sea is 12 nautical miles from your baselines. And these 12 nautical miles, the state has got full rights. And incidentally, you got right over the airspace above it. You got rights on the complete water column. You got rights on the seabed where your crabs or your crustaceans or your prawns or your sedentary species can be lying. And you have complete rights on the subsoil for drilling and everything. What happens about the other things that are there on the seabed? Well, you have to protect your cables. Today, in this warlike situations, we have seen how the cables are being cut. So cable protection also comes under the coastal countries' jurisdiction and domain. Innocent passage. What happens to the countries whose trade is flowing through this? Well, they have the right of innocent passage. They can do going from place A to B. They should not do anything which is against the rules and regulations of the land territory of the state. That means they can take the passage without infringing any laws or rules. So nothing which is considered violation, a ship can sail through. In case of India, when we were making our Maritime Zone Act of 1976, we had put a rider that yes, anybody can go through, but the warships of other countries should declare their passage through our territorial sea before going. They should inform us. And we have not changed that. We have still held on to that. Whereas the other issues about having the other rules and regulations will come to the next one, which is the contiguous one. Captain Khatari, sir, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, here say a country can have its own rules, like you said, but most of the countries have made it very clear: no nuclear or any noxious or hazardous substance to be declared. Anything which is considered to be dangerous has to be declared. You cannot just pass through the territorial waters without declaring it.
Coming to the contiguous zone, this zone is adjacent to the territorial sea. It is adjacent to the territorial sea where the territorial sea finishes. And here there are 4 very important rules of the country that apply. That means you cannot violate the customs, the immigration, the sanitary, and the fiscal laws of the country. If you are violating any of these laws within this area, that is 12 nautical miles to 24 nautical miles, you are liable to be seized. You're liable to be seized, captured, brought to the land, and tried according to our laws, rules, and regulations. Captain Khatari, sir, you want to add anything?
Yeah, territorial waters, we can say, are sovereign part of it, and 24 nautical miles as measured from the baseline, that is a contiguous zone. You can exercise, as Admiral Aziz said, the sovereign laws of the country for fiscal, immigration, and sanitary part of it. You can punish a person for that, you can try him out, but within 12 nautical miles, it's your sovereign territory.
Coming to the next slide. This is a very, very interesting one. Imagine from the baseline, you have got a territory of 360 kilometers or 200 nautical miles where you can explore, you can exploit, do anything on the water column. That means you have complete fishing rights, you have complete exploitation of hydrocarbons, you can harness your wind energy, you can harness your currents, you can harness your tide, you can exploit the minerals, maybe high grade minerals. You can do anything in the water column, on the seabed, and the subsoil. Subsoil, again, I'm very clear, it is the hydrocarbons and anything that lies below that. This phenomenal area of EEZ is around 2.11 million square kilometers. India's land area is around 3.28, and this is 2.11. The beauty about this is,
with extended what you call continental shelf that we are having now, 1.2 million square kilometers extra, it will be as good to the land mass only.
Yes, approximately. Once a continental shelf claim which is
true in the United Nations.
Yeah,
it is supposed to come up this month, I think. It is supposed to come up this month, in the month of August.
Yes, yes. Now, incidentally, in this EZ, if you're you have an oil rig and you have maybe oil platform, now what is the legal status of it? Well, it belongs to the country, and you have a 500-meter area of a safety zone around it. That means no country, no ship, no vessel, nothing can come as close as 500 meters from this. So you have the legal right to guard this in this 500-meter area, and also allow the other ships and vessels to operate which are beyond this 500-meter area. So you're not restricting them also, but you're also ensuring that you are guarding your own assets. Would you like to add something, sir, Captain Khandari?
No, that 500 meters for the safety purposes basically, and nobody should come closer than that, for safety as well as security reasons.
Okay. So India has been a country which is always goes by the rule-based order. And if we come to the next slide. Can you believe it? Unlike the South China Sea, where not even one or maybe very few maritime boundaries have been settled, India, being a very, very responsible country, has been going step by step from year to year, settling our maritime boundaries with all our countries up to the EZ. I'm not talking of continental shelf here. I'm talking of the exclusive economic zone. Starting from the east side with Indonesia, with Myanmar, with Thailand, with Bangladesh, coming down to Sri Lanka, coming down to Maldives. We have settled our boundary with all our maritime neighbors, barring Pakistan. So India stands as a very, very responsible power in this area, very, very responsible neighbor to ensure that we facilitate and demarcate our boundaries in the exclusive economic zone, wherever our boundaries were overlapping. Captain Khatari, sir, you would like to add anything?
I want to add one thing over here, like we had in 2010 with Oman also. That's a continental shelf, though it is not demilitated, but understanding has been reached that there is no dispute. There was some kind of differences, but 2010 the understanding was reached even with Oman as far as the continental shelf is concerned, that there is no dispute anymore.
Correct, sir. And
But-
as and whenever it comes up, we will resolve it bilaterally. So that is a very
Bilaterally.
nice understanding we have.
But unlike Pakistan, which I would say, I don't know what's in their mind. Everything they want to claim for that matter without any justification. For that matter, like we had submitted our this particular extended thing in way back in 2009 or 2000. I don't remember the year.
2009, May 2009, continental shelf.
Yeah, and they put an objection in 2021. So the UN part of it, somebody puts an objection. It's like any court you go to, you get a stay order or kind of a thing, postpone the date part of it. So India had to submit a fresh thereafter. And that's how this 1.2, that extra extended continental shelf we are talking about, we had to skip the Sir Creek part and then submit that one, that Aurora will come to it. And that is coming up in August now.
Yes.
Because dispute thing cannot be taken up, cannot be accepted by the United Nations till such time the dispute is resolved.
Coming to the next slide, sir. Yeah, this is a very, very complex issue, which I think Captain Khandari has already mentioned. But what we can just mention out here is that beyond 200 nautical miles or 360 kilometers is your continental shelf. That means in this area, you have no legal rights over the water, but you can continue doing your fishing. It is a common seas for the complete mankind. However, the subsoil and the area below that is yours for exploitation. But this also depends on your continental shelf claim and it being passed by the United Nations. So it's a very, very complex way where this has to go through sedimentary thickness and distance from the baseline and other things. But suffice to say at this stage is you have got an area up to 350 nautical miles from the baseline that comes to around nearly 700 odd kilometers from the baseline, where you can continue exploiting your hydrocarbons. No other country will have the legal rights to this. Only you will have the legal rights to this. So if you see the area of sea which extends into the oceans is phenomenal for India. It is a low-hanging fruit waiting to be exploited. There is so much to do. There is so little that has been done. And that is where it is so gratifying that the country has started looking towards the sea and maritime for our blue economy and exploitation of this. Anything you want to add, sir?
The blue economy part of it, that's the word. The blue economy, actually, with the blue water navy. And I don't want to add anything over here because the continental shelf, as you know, if we start doing the subclause, subparagraph, it will become too technical for a normal viewer.
Yeah.
So the government knows what they are doing, and that technical data is being provided to them by the various departments and the hydrographers also.
Yeah.
So they're on the right path. That's all I
Correct.
can say. Yeah.
Hydrographers play a very important role. There's a marine spatial planning. How do you plan the space? Hydrographers have been at this task not only from after independence, but the data which is available with us before that also. The majority of the data has been captured after the independence, and it is so I think nice that the hydrographers have the latest data in this complete area. That's the best part. And we are the ones who can completely harness this data, make a marine spatial planning, and move forward with the blue economy. Nobody today has the wherewithal, the data that can be put on the domain for our country to exploit. Every agency has got its data in their pockets, in their penny pockets, whereas we have it globally acceptable across. We are already making the electronic navigation charts, which are being used world over. The hydrographers have got this mandate to ensure that the trade flows. So we are the ones who have been mandated with this, and we have the electronic navigation charts and the data. A lot of it is in the open domain for the use by mariners to ensure safe navigation at sea, and no incident takes place because of underwater features. Come to the next slide, sir. Captain Khandari, sir, would you like to?
You go ahead. The only thing I can say is that, as we spoke last time in the last podcast with Adi about the Sir Craig, the ambiguity, and as I said, I don't know on what basis Pakistan makes claims. And if I'm not wrong, Adhir, the one on the right side, the Pakistan base point K, they've taken it up to Peer Sinai Creek for that matter, taking a part of our land also. And in the last program, we had discussed about the Thalweg principle, wherein we have set the navigable channel, not even the median line, the center of the navigable channel we are talking about. And now you can see like how much area they want to grab. And one point I want to mention over here about the IWT treaty, Adi, is that when there's a delta, the siltation takes place, and it's the nature that if the siltation takes place at one place, other side the erosion will take place. So I've sent one article to you on WhatsApp. I don't know whether you've seen it or not. There's an island over there. Now people are vacating only because IWT is being held in abeyance and we are not releasing regular water. So what's happening? The area is drying. Their coastline is already receding now, and our coastline is gaining. So I think India, as being an Indian, I would say whatever in government can do, they should knock off the IWT. As simple as that. There is no IWT. It gives a lots of advantage to us. That's the what you call as a nationalist I can speak about, but technically the unclosed part of it, as you can see from the charts, and I will request Adhir Arora to explain more about this particular base point 1 and base point kilo.
If you see the Pakistan base point kilo, it's on the right side of the slide. It is somewhere south of the opening to the Peer Sinai Creek. And on the left side is the Indian base point, which has again been promulgated on the 2nd of April 2025. Now you can see the difference between these two perceptions of India and perceptions of Pakistan. So now if we have to have a starting point to demarcate the boundary between Pakistan and India from this point, how do we do it? So there is a perceptual difference. He is going by his point K in 1996. I will go by point 1, which we demarcated in May 2009, and then again in April 2025. I think the next slide will explain where and how the differences will play out. Look at this. Captain Khandari, sir, would you like to take on?
Yeah, that's the way. Again, we come to the same baseline, and the EZ limit gets disturbed, and so does all the resources in the sea and the subsea bed resources there. But I frankly speaking, Adhir, by all the law and technical argument part of it, I don't know on what basis they are asking for the point K south of that opening of your Pearson Creek. Technically, it beats me like by any technical means, it is not a valid. I'm saying at the technical point. Well, everybody has a right to protest in UN. They can keep protesting, but sooner or later, it will fall into our favor, and I'm hopeful about it.
Absolutely, sir. And if you would like to add anything to the complete conversation we have just had, sir, and before
No,
I sum up a few things.
You go ahead with the conclusion. Like the entire thing was baseline, and I think we have covered it very nicely. And
Yeah. So I think the takeaways is this, that India has published its new coastline, and like what you had mentioned, it is 11,098.81 kilometers. I think we should be going by this figure now in all our official documents. When we have our EEZ, this area, obviously the EEZ has not been demarcated, or because it has not been demarcated, we have left it in a hanging position. But notwithstanding, we can claim a EEZ of 2.11 million square kilometers. And like I mentioned earlier, if you add a few, maybe the continental shelf,
extended continental shelf.
Yeah, the landmass and the sea area would nearly be the. Look at the irony. On land, we have got 140 billion people who are exploiting whatever it is and working on the land and living off the lands. At sea, this area of 2.11, they're just too minuscule. Not even 0.5 crore people are employed at sea. Can you see the disparity? Imagine more people going to sea. Your economy is going to boom. Blue economy is a low-hanging fruit. Every department, if it puts its full force on this, people will start going out to sea for their livelihood. And there is so much there. It's not only fishes. You got seaweeds there. You got chlorophylls there. You got so much to exploit from that area. You got tourism there. You got enough empty areas of the sea. You got wind farms coming up. You may have maybe tides being harnessed. You have sediments out there. You have rare earth coming up out there. There is so much to do at sea. And one more thing, India has also mentioned recently, we have now the number of islands and rocks that are there offshore as 1389. This is another new figure, which can be used in the official terms later. I think somewhere it has been mentioned, maybe by one of the ministries. This figure has come out.
Yeah.
Would you like to add, sir?
The only thing I want to add, that you're being a true hydrographer, I left it at 11098 kilometer, the coastal length, and you said 11098.81 kilometer. You haven't got over your whole habit of 0.002 meter accuracy of the point while measuring.
when it comes to your territory, it is the last centimeter that counts.
Exactly, that's what I said. You're being a true hydrographer. When we used to talk of the accuracy, 0.002 meters, anything more than that not to be accepted.
Yes, sir. For the country, if I can get that one rock extra, which is 1 meter into the sea, I can extend the baseline and the territory of India. We can extend it there. So it is incumbent on the hydrographers to actually continue walking along these features. Yes, remote sensing has its say, but then remote sensing and the low water line will not merge because the satellite passes may not be there always. So it is physically walking on the ground and picking it up, and that is what is authenticated on the charts which are published by the chief hydrographer, which are the official charts of the country.
And data submitted to the United Nations.
Yes, absolutely. Data is very, very submitted. So that is where the crux of the situation is. Not a single centimeter. It's like recently when there was a skirmish in the South China Sea, with the Philippines vessel and the Chinese ship and the Coast Guard ship. It's spread like a wildfire on the WhatsApp. Imagine Ferdinand, President of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., he was there. And in an interview to one of the Indian journalists, he said, "Why should we sacrifice even a square inch of our territory?" Imagine the commitment of the president. Over to you, Adi.
This was very interesting, sir. I must say, it's a very different subject and a very different level of understanding of our territory. I don't think even anybody in the public domain thinks about all these things because it's quite technical. But it's good to know because one can actually think about what happens in terms of geopolitics and the various so-called clashes that take place in the ocean in a little more precise and a little more open manner. So thank you so much, sir. This was very, very educative, I must say. I love maps and I love understanding them. So for me, this was really, really amazing. Thank you so much, Captain sir, Admiral sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I hope your viewers enjoyed because it's a bit of a technical, and we are trying to keep it very normal language. We didn't go into the much of the technicalities part of it. Otherwise, it's a science by itself. If you really
yeah, it does seem like it's quite a intriguing this thing. And as sir said, even the last square inch is important. On that note, I'll request all the viewers, please share your comments and let us know what you guys think about what we were just talking about, the baselines and how did our Indian borders suddenly increase. I hope you understood that. Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you very much, Adi.
Thank you.